Welcome back to Up Front. We're about 2 months out now from the primary election that will determine which two candidates face off in April in the race for Wisconsin Supreme Court. Justice Rebecca Bradley was appointed to the court by Governor Walker last fall. She has 3 challengers in the February 16th primary. In recent weeks, we've been talking with all of the candidates in the race, and today we're wrapping up our series of interviews with Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge Joe Donald. Judge Donald, it's good to have you on the program.
Well, thank you, Mike. It's a true pleasure to be here, and I'm delighted to sit down and talk with you.
What makes you the better of the 4 alternatives here?
Well, you know, one of the things that I stress, and it has always been stressed, is experience. I'm in my 20th year as a trial court judge, and given that experience, given the reputation as being impartial and fair and principled, I think that makes me a very strong candidate to serve on our state Supreme Court.
Fair, impartial, principled. Every candidate I have on this program says that. Well, what do you have about your record that can back up that kind of claim?
Actually, I have a record that does back it up. You know, if anyone does any research on me, they will see that I have been recognized as being a truly fair judge. In fact, there was just a recent poll or interview done by a paper in Appleton, I believe, where they wanted to sort of assess the judges. And, you know, I had close to a 90-something% rating from the lawyers in terms of the kind of judge that they would want their clients to be in front of and to appear in front of. So I clearly have that track record. Even the poll numbers from typically from the Bar Association judicial polling, my numbers are fantastic. People enjoy my court, enjoy being in my court, and that's one of the things I pride myself on is being fair.
Yeah, in a couple of interviews I've seen your campaign talk about Justice Rebecca Bradley, and I think your campaign manager says something to the effect that it's pretty clear that she and the Republican Party are one and the same. Do you agree with that statement about her?
Well, what is happening is that I think politics has infiltrated our Supreme Court. And it is clear that the Republican Party is actually circulating her nomination papers. And I feel that by having politics in our court, that we are getting away from a court that is truly impartial and independent. And so I think that is a concern, and that's a concern that I am going to point out to the voters. She's been appointed 3 times within 3 years. And so that is something that says to me, actually appointed over more experienced candidates. And so that is a concern with respect to her campaign.
You were originally appointed by Governor Thompson, yet in this campaign you've received endorsements from Mayor Barrett, the mayor of Milwaukee, Democratic mayor, former Senator Cole, the Democratic senator. Should people look at those endorsements and say, aha, I think I know where Joe Donald would rule should he get a job on the state's highest court?
Well, they should look at those endorsements in terms of my ability to appeal to a broad-based constituency. You know, and that's what I have done my entire life. I have tried to ensure that people are treated fairly, that I can speak with any group, any organization, any individual. And I think that's one of the qualities that I will bring to our state Supreme Court, to ensure that there is at least an opportunity to have discussions about the important issues that face our court in our state.
Let's talk about some of those important issues. In your mind, what are they?
Well, I think I think with respect to our court, is people having integrity and faith in our court. With respect to our state in terms of crime, I think we have a huge issue in terms of our mass incarceration. We have a budget, Department of Corrections budget of $1.5 billion, and I think we can do things smarter. I believe that I am trying to get that message out that we need to be smart on crime.
Mm-hmm. I want to get your take on something that is a fact of life in Wisconsin. We have had 1 African-American justice in the history of the court. No other person of color has been on the court. You're running, obviously, people will make a determination based on your qualifications. But does race matter in this election? Should it matter in any sense?
It shouldn't matter. But I can tell you this, Mike. My whole life, race has been an issue that I had to deal with. In fact, in the early 70s, when my mother moved into the coach house of Judge Cudahy, I was one of 4 African Americans at Shorewood High School. I actually had an opportunity the other day to call. I was doing call time, and I called my high school civics teacher, Sonia Ivanovich. We had a great conversation. She was very enthused to hear from me. And to come from a situation where I'm typically either one or few African Americans in the room has given me a skill and an ability to relate to people. And this race, if and when I win, will be historic, because there has never been an African American elected to our state Supreme Court. So I am working hard to make sure that I make history.
Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge Joe Donald is running for state Supreme Court. The primary is February 16th. Judge Donald, good to have you on the program.
Thank you, Mike.
You bet. Some state lawmakers have a new plan to curb the growth in state spending. We'll look at it next on Up Front. And remember, you can keep the conversation going throughout the week by following me at Mike Boucher on Twitter.